What did these 10 years do? First of all, they increased the mutual mistrust of the two parties. And there are two conclusions to that from the security point of view. One conclusion is that any process of realization of the two-state solution must be a phased process, because you have to do something to see that it's successful and then to proceed to the next one. That does not mean necessarily that you should have an Oslo-type process, namely interim agreements and partial agreements instead of a permanent status agreement, because that can be done in another way, by concluding a permanent status agreement that deals with all the problems and then a phased implementation of the agreement. That is one conclusion. The other conclusion is that you have probably to give a stronger role to a third party because of this gap of mistrust between the two sides. And I think that I stop here.
Okay, another useful phrase to hang in the air there is when you deal with a security problem, you must adopt a pessimistic approach. So we're back at square one, but I'm happy enough with that. And let me pass on to another security perspective, which is Brigadier General, retired Brigadier General Baruch Spiegel, who's advisor to the directory of the board at the S. Daniel Abraham Center for Strategic Dialogue, and a former senior advisor to the Israeli Ministry of Defense.
Thank you. And I would like, besides the security aspects, to make some comments to the previous session, because I think the things link together. Even so, we were separated. Israel is here, Palestinians are on the other side, and I also wish to do it jointly, because we have to speak with each other and not just to, just to have this type of panels and discussions. This is a must. My assumption is that the ultimate goal for Israel, and by the way, in my eyes also to the Palestinians, is a two-state solution, two states for two people. Any other alternative, I think, will be worse, and I do not think that with other alternative we shall be able to reach end of conflict. Second, a comment to Ron. I agree with Ron that peace is an asset for security, but without having security and good security for both sides and regional security as well, I do not think that peace is possible to be reached. And the direction for peace, to have this goal and this important role, needs basically, and from the beginning, to give to the people security feeling and good essence of security. Otherwise, I'm afraid that we won't be able to reach peace. And now, more optimistic approaches. The dangers in the Middle East in the last years, the geopolitical changes are dramatic changes. The situation now is not as it was 2 years ago. We have to analyze this situation, and by analyzing this situation, we have to do everything in the Israeli, Palestinian, and the regional arena, Syria and Lebanon, to find a way to bridge the gap and to work for peace. This is the best alternative to this negative development or geopolitical development in the Middle East, which was not analyzed in this way, let's say, from 3 to 4 or 5 years ago. The status quo, as it is now, is an illusion. It is very dangerous, and it serves the negative elements in the region to continue with a lot of efforts against the peace process. Now, I would like to highlight some bottom-up approach or approaches which are very important for the future. And it started on an idea out of the box in the Jenin first model, which is the northern sector of West Bank, that no one believed that such of a model, by a lot of security risks taken by Israel and a lot of activities being taken by Salam Fayyad or Salam Fayyad people and the international community, to have a sector which gives a chance for better security, better economy, better humanitarian aspects, or whatever. By the way, the security fence, as we call in Israel, or the barrier, was the initiative of the peace camp in Israel, because most of the people of Israel lost the security feeling before, and it was a lot of hesitations about how to deal with it. And then, after a lot of pressure to Sharon government, Sharon agreed to start with a barrier. And the barrier, by facts, somehow there are some negative impacts of the barrier, okay, to be objective. But it gives much more feelings of security to the Israelis, and by fact, since the barrier was established or was demarked, especially in the northern and central part of the West Bank, no any terror attacks toward Israel. I am mentioning it because these phenomena gave a chance for having better security, and that Israel took much more security risks to let this model, bottom-up model, to happen. And the performance of the Palestinians police, security, intelligence, the performance of the Palestinians government, especially by, I think, a very, very smart and very important Prime Minister, Salam Fayyad, enabled to the Palestinians to build institutions, to perform law and order, and to give for the Israelis a feeling that things can be done. And it expanded from the north up to Hebron, much more access to the Palestinians in the last 2 years were open. Still there are checkpoints, still there are roadblocks, still there are restrictions, security restrictions. But you cannot compare the situation now to what happened 2 or 3 years ago. Hundreds of roadblocks, tens of checkpoints were removed. Now, the feeling of the Palestinians in many places in West Bank and the feelings of the Israelis by confidence, by trust, is much better than it was before. The coordination between the IDF and the Palestinian police is in the ground level sector up to the top. They investigate together, crisis management mechanism, and the problems somehow are being succeed to be resolved on the medium level. Not every problem is rising up to the top. And this is a very progressing, very positive movement, because the Israeli security, which is a tough and very conservative milieu, sees that it's possible. And the Israeli people see that it's possible